Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang alert, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Welcome back to the Tim and Steve Show. I am Tim Beard.
I'm Steve Morris.
How's it going, Steve?
Going well. How are you? Or I'm doing well. How are you?
Eh,
I guess I should say I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How are you?
splendid. No, I'm all right. Just busy as always. And this is, it was funny last night at school board meeting, and most everyone in the meeting, it went long. We finally left after non-public at like 8:30, so it's 3.5 hours. And we talked about CT last night, which was, I don't know, it wasn't boring, but I hate PowerPoint presentations. They just snooze fest usually, but and it wasn't that bad, but you could tell everyone in the room's ready to, like, all right, I'm ready to go. And I'm thinking, this is the easiest part of my freaking week right here. And then coming into the show this morning, I'm like, it's like vacation for me from last night to today until after the show's done. Yeah, because it's just been nonstop working, and my old friggin' fingers cracked to a point where I always wonder if my dad's hands are always dry and stuff, and apparently working with wood all the time, and the sawdust dries your hands out wicked, because I got that thumb especially is really cracked, and I got this nice looking, you can't see it I'm sure on the camera, but nice long, I don't know, 4-inch long scratch on my hand. It's from those little staples in the wood in there, the panel and stuff. And but you're looking, trying to find yourself. Oh yeah, look.
A couple there.
Yeah,
I've been doing some woodwork myself.
I heard.
A year-long project that took me 6 hours, probably one. Well, I still got to sand and paint, but it's got to sit for 4 days, and it's been raining since I.
That's gonna mess there. So yesterday I went. Well, I guess we'll back up a little bit. Earlier this week, I got one side done with the siding, and Andrew and Adriana got it urethaned. And that same night, I was able to get.
So you're going to keep it the natural wood color?
Yep.
Okay. I
Yep.
was going to ask you, and I didn't want to be like, what if he's not? I was like, are you going to paint
No.
it, or what color are you going to paint it? And I was like, I'll just
we
let
really
him
like
tell me
that
naturally.
natural wood color.
Yeah,
so,
I like that.
Yeah. At first, it was kind of yellow, like more yellow than I wanted. And my dad told me, he's like, hey, if you use water base, it will give it the natural color. If you use oil base, urethane, it'll give it that more yellow color. And I'm like, did he get them backwards? Because I wasn't really impressed after it. But after a day or two of it drying, like really drying, it did what he said he was going to do. So I was like,
Yeah, your dad was
okay.
right.
Dad was right. Dad's always right. But I'm like, hey, So then I got half the back done. And then yesterday I was going to go and see how I knew it was going to rain, but I figured in the afternoon, right? That's what they said.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah. Then I get there in the morning and it's raining, and there was a break in
Where
between.
was this rain in July, by the way? Like yesterday's rain all the way up to right now would have been a perfect.
The second I started working on that house,
started raining.
it started to rain. It's so, but it's like I got So I got half the back still to do, and then the far end by the garage, which, honestly, everything kind of works out for a reason, right? So originally I wanted to put a door in our bathroom, which kind of sounds an odd place to put a door, but we want to put like a private deck out back with like a hot tub for us, down the road. And so over the week I ripped out, there was a pantry there and stuff, and then the center section of where the two halves come together in our bedroom, I ripped all that out, built a closet, and used built it to how it should be or whatever. But in the process, Andrea like took out the old bathtub in there and all that, and we have this space. I'm like, this space is useless. Like, it's like almost like a little hall in your bathroom. Waste of space, complete waste of space. I'm like, what are we gonna do with this? They had sinks there at one point, which doesn't really make sense. And then it dawned on me, like, wait a minute, let's put our door here, coming out the side, and then even if we go, down and around and have the deck on the back or whatever, no longer a waste of space, right? So, luckily, and had we not, had that conversation yesterday, then we probably would have proceeded to do things how we planned to, and then I've been like, damn it, why do we? So, the great news is then I can frame in a door, so that when I side everything, we're not like siding it and then going back and having to cut it out and all this stuff. So it's worked out, but just trying to get the back half done and then that side, so that for the most part the outside stuff for the house itself is kind of winterized. I still have to do the skirting, which when my buddy came the other day to I had to pay him for the lumber I had got for the siding and whatever, and he's like, why don't you just run that right down to the concrete? And I'm like, damn, that's a good idea. So they're going to do that. So things are kind of come together through conversations with people, and I think it's going to come out better anyway. So we're excited. We got I just throw some pictures up at the end of the show. I don't feel like putting them up right now, but
Instead of Tim, read some text messages
Yeah,
while you're
fine.
talking.
It's all good.
That's what
It's
you
all
always
good.
do to me, and I'm always like, I'm talking here, Timothy.
It's all good.
Important text messages coming in from my
It's all good.
Xbox team.
Your Xbox team. They're going to say your ex-wife. I'm like, ex-wife?
No.
Steve's not an ex-wife.
Been married once.
Good for you. That's good.
Somehow we have made it through all the thick and thin, and we still got the rest of our lives to go through some more thick and thin together.
I hear you. So, then yesterday, just in the kitchen, in the dining room, I got that piece of plywood finally in there, and then started to, we were looking at Eileen's bedroom, and it was like 13 by 12, which is like, she really doesn't need a bedroom quite that big.
Yeah, that's pretty good size.
Yeah, so we're going to shrink it down to 8 by 13, which the advantage of doing that is on the right side of the entry door will be some living room still. So I'm like, hey, we put the pellet stove over there. Now that gives us that corner. Like, you could put a couch, we could change things up and make it work a lot better. And so I'm kind of glad like that. I think that's going to work well. And, of course, the roof's a little weird
You'd
there.
be ready to be an architect after this, huh?
As long as it still stands. Stands times it's done. Because I was going to ask my dad, but I'm like, nah, my dad's
Get
probably
those
going to.
hurricane straps put in yet?
Well, nah. But my dad will be like, so it has trusses, which no big deal, right? Trusses. But so far, all the trusses I've worked on this half of the house have just been equally the same on each side. Well, when I get near the bathroom area, they're not like that anymore. Because that's got the drop ceiling. So instead of like hanging a drop ceiling down and using the exact same trusses, they didn't. These ones are designed differently. So they're in my way. So I cut back like 4 feet down them, and I'm just gonna put a 2x6 wall where where right now is a 2x3 wall, but it's only gonna be about 4 feet. After that, it can all stay how it is. But I was like, I asked my dad.
Is everybody visualizing this? Is this even making sense to anyone?
Makes sense to me. It's all that matters, right?
So today is Tim's cathartic
Everybody's like, wait,
house
you cut a truss?
repair
Those trusses that are designed
to support.
based on exactly.
I
how the
know.
truss
That's
is
like
designed.
when you're saying that, all I'm hearing is the ceiling's going to collapse.
Nah, be all right. Metal roof, no snow load,
Maybe.
be good.
I've seen some snow build up. I got some steep pitches here, even though mine's not metal.
Well, that pitch is.
That pitch, but it'll still stick on there. Yeah, I'll still have to take the rake and.
Yours isn't metal though, shingles.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Still
yeah.
got a good clip of rain coming down
No,
out
it's
here
still-
in good old
They
Newport.
said like 2 inches of rain from yesterday to today. I'm like,
That's
Jesus.
nice. So, yeah, I took down should have been an easier drive up the driveway. I took down.
It was so much nicer. I was coming up here
You
and
were
I'm like,
waiting for the bump.
man,
for
I
my,
hope that's gone finally because I'm
my
like,
hose protector. Yeah, I got to take the lawnmower down and pick it up. Just 'cause that stuff's kind of heavy and awkward to carry. But anyway,
it's not on the driveway at least, so no more speed bump.
I did that yesterday for the mail lady, you, Nikki. Some of y'all
Appreciate
like
that.
to come barreling down the driveway. I can always tell when someone leaves if they've been barreling or not really knowing what to expect because it's a pretty good bump.
Oh, I expect it. I know it's there.
Because it'll sometimes people will push it, so it'll be catty cornered or.
When we were getting ready for our wedding and we're all here and everyone's like, why'd you got a speed bump out there? And I'm like, oh, it's there's water hose. I've noticed it. I've seen it all summer. Go over it slow because it's a nice bump.
But it has a big yellow stripe across it. That
Oh,
lets
yeah.
you know.
You can see it.
But it was kind of that's the other reason why is because all the leaves are falling.
The
off
bottom of your driveway is nothing but leaves. It's like, holy crap.
It's like worse than the snow almost. I was like, I need to take the lawnmower and just blow it off.
Take your, put your blade on your tractor, go down and scrape off all the leaves.
That's what I'm going to do. Well, when it stops raining.
I know it's just been supposed to stop today. I don't know. According to the weather, which good luck with that because Monday wasn't supposed to rain.
Not at all.
So I'm like, oh hey, and then that was quite the day. So
I didn't even. I don't watch the news or anything, so I have no reference other than whatever my app on my phone says.
see, I just checked I checked the WMUR app is what I use for it. You know,
You let them.
I know.
You have their app on your phone.
Yeah, you know,
Nice.
gotta be somehow attached to the established people. You know,
Like
So,
this show's not enough.
yeah.
I don't give out any of my personal information, but I pontificate on YouTube for 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
Yeah, we're on YouTube.
Weekly right now. We used to do it daily. Right now we're on to
I
Fridays.
know. It's sad too. I miss doing the show every day. But I just got to get through this. Once I get through this, we'll be back to.
So I still got some stuff growing out in the garden. Stuff is still alive.
Wow.
We had one light freeze for like an hour one day from like 7
Yeah.
to 7:45. But so most of the tomatoes are like I need to go out there and just pick them off and let them ripen in a bag or something. But there's a lot of tomatoes out there. I just finished 4 liters last night of sauce, so I got to jar it today at some point. Like I blended it and put it in a big pot, so I just got to heat it
So
back
is that
up.
2 gallons?
4
don't use-
liters?
We don't use liters here in the United States.
Well, no, that's just what
I
the
believe 2 liters is a gallon.
was that it?
I think so.
4
4 quarts is a gallon. 2 liters, I believe, is a gallon.
liters.
2
to-
gallon.
Where's that at?
2 gallon. Oh,
4 liters. There's ounces, 135 ounces.
yeah. No.
U.S. gallon, 1 gallon,
Oh,
1.05.
okay.
So I got about
So
a gallon of sauce. So I'm
So
gonna.
4 liters to a gallon. 4 quarts to a gallon too. Wow, it's 1.05. Blah blah blah. Anyways, gotta get about a gallon.
I got some broccoli that's looking good down there, so I'll be able to. I still have some broccoli to harvest.
I gotta pick my eggplant.
I didn't check the eggplant. I need to see. I have 1 eggplant. I don't know if it's growing anymore. This water might help. And the warmer weather the last few days before.
Still
it
have my
started raining.
potatoes down there. They're up
Have you
there.
had any of those that I gave you? I gave you a 10-pound bag of red potatoes.
Mhm.
Any good?
Yep. She made them. Yeah, she did. She made them for something. I don't remember. Mashed potato. Yeah, they're good.
Brussels sprouts. I still have some Brussels sprouts that are growing.
Yeah, sure.
They're looking good.
Got nothing.
Got 1 cabbage. I think it's because it's underneath the Brussels sprout plumage, whatever you want to call it. So it's the one that I gave you one that's a little spicier cabbage.
Hmm.
And then I had bought some different radishes than what you had planted. I got them from that store in Vermont where we got the sausage.
Singletons? Yeah.
It was like a little, but it was non-GMO. Man, they are beautiful.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Our cabbages didn't, or excuse me, our radishes didn't really grow at all. I don't know. It's weird.
I think your soil was too wet down there.
Yeah, we're gonna move it next year. Well, that's the plan. Of course, it sucks. I would love to do it now. Would be the time to do it, but yeah, right. There's no chance.
Yeah, I haven't even
So
checked the
freaking
weather
busy.
because I need to break down all the tomato aisles,
This weekend's supposed to be nice, but then Monday and Tuesday looks like rain again. So,
and I got to finish putting my fence up
why wait now? Why now?
just to knock it out so it's up. So next year, all I got to do is put because I looked at runnings because what I want to do is because I have was it a 2-post what do you call it, split rail?
split rail.
So what I'm going to do is on all the posts, fashion something, vertical that'll hold a solar electric fence in case the bear
Yeah.
tries to climb over it, and I'll staple the wire down because right now where the wire is, you and I could push the wire out and go right through there if we wanted to because it's loosely attached on the 100 feet that's up. Anyway, so I want to have it to where next year all I have is one project for that, which is make sure my watering system is good, and then the second one would be to put that solar electric fence up.
Plus roadkill at center of the garden, so it's a whole.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna plot out the sun a little bit better so that I can figure out where each plant or section of the garden should be, because some things grew better this year in different places than they were last year, and other things grew worse in different places. So
I think your corn should be up on that hill.
where the
With
summer or the winter squash is.
Granted, that grew really good up there too. So
Yeah, but maybe coming down where we didn't plow.
yeah,
And I'll send some pictures of all my harvest, or we'll put some up once I'm done.
Yeah.
We'll be able
Oh,
to show,
definitely.
because we kind of fell behind on the farming Fridays because of life happening and this not being our.
because of housing, Monday through Monday, nonstop. It's yeah.
Well, and I had a month-long detour, which, that cost some time in July. And it was the prime.
Yeah, everything was starting to ripen up and everything. You're not here, and I'm like, oh my god, this is not good for me or Nikki. But luckily, she was home enough that you could
I just want to know what happened to my cucumbers. I got
yeah,
hardly any cucumbers. You had
I had-
quite a few.
yeah. I mean, I
Your
would say
cucumbers did pretty good.
really good, yeah.
You had
yeah.
6.
Only 6 plants,
But you got quite a few
Yeah,
because
I
you
got a lot.
ended up giving me 8 or
Yeah.
9.
yeah, yours didn't not at all. I wonder if we should take that lower section too and bring in maybe a load or 2 of loam to really just stick across there, which will bring that up a little bit too. And because I probably end up having to do that for myself too this spring, just to get a little better nutrients. And I know a guy that has really good compost. You still get grass in it, but it's beautiful black. If you were thinking, hey, I want to grow something, you look at that and be like, that stuff is going to do it. It's just
Till that right in.
gorgeous. Yeah, mix it into your stuff. And I really was hoping to rototill this spring, this fall, rototill some leaves in and stuff too, and manure. But yeah, I don't know. So if we do that,
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mow and push all the leaves down there and try to cover everything up, and
Yeah,
maybe
'cause-
it'll drown out some of because all the aisles are getting kind of overrun with
right.
crabgrass.
And it'll help
so.
rot it. The leaves will kind of rot down, and yeah, that's what my dad always did. He'd take all the leaves and just dump them in the garden, and they'll rot down with their, winter and stuff, and then till in and works good. But yeah, trying to think what else. It's just that's all I've done is just work on the house, and I mean, getting there, people are starting to notice too. We post pictures online oh, you live up in Springfield Road? Yeah, and it's finally actually starting to look nice. That's actually Alan Chase, the town inspector, stopped by the other day, and he's got a red Audi sports car thing, and I'm like, he went by slow at first, and I'm like, me, I'm automatically thinking, who's this asshole out of stater? Because a lot of people slow down now through there, because they're snoopy, oh, what's happening here, and which irritates me. I mean, I don't slowly drive by
I don't
your
like
house.
it. Hey, this is the only attention you get from us right here on the show and
Yeah.
at the board meetings that we're involved.
So so the car went
I'm
off.
joking, by the way.
I'm not. No. So the car comes back and then pulls in. I'm like, now I'm kind of pissed. Coming out with my nail gun, not like because it was, just this is what I had in my hand. It's like, oh, it's Alan. I'm like, how many freaking vehicles you got? Because his other car is like a BMW. I mean, he's older. It's not like he's got brand new freaking vehicles. He works for the town. But I was like, oh, I didn't realize, it was you. And I was just talking to him. He's like, yeah, it's really looking good. And I was like, yeah, I was really worried because my neighbors probably thought, like, because trust me, when it first got put there, the whole front wall was like just studs. There was nothing. And it looked like crap. And it's come a long way. So now I'm thinking my neighbor's like, oh, all right, it's going to look all right. And, that was the plan always. It was never not going to look all right.
No, it's looking good.
I'm not going to live in a freaking, I don't know, a shithole freaking house. But it's just been a long process. But it is. It's really coming to it. I actually drove down to feed the animals yesterday, and I was like admiring my work. I was like, wow, it looks really, really good with the other side. It's
should have taken some time lapse video of.
Yeah, I should have.
Like you doing all of that dirt moving. I'm telling you.
That was the part that, I was telling.
I mean, you did that for what, 3 weeks?
Straight, yeah, but all summer I would move dirt here and there, and that was the thing. Like with what we're doing now, it's actually starting to feel good because you can look at them like, hey, look, the siding, the windows. But when you're just moving dirt, it doesn't look no different. Like, oh, look at that, I went out 2 feet today, and like,
I can tell a difference when I pull it. Like it's
now when I got that 6-wheeler and I had the excavator I was renting. Okay, I did like 17 loads one day. And you could tell, huge difference. But when I was doing it with just the bucket loader, and then I was just doing it with quarry, 1-ton dump, like, yeah, you'd see progress, but not, not like that. And so I was Monday, so that excavator was supposed to leave
a week ago.
And so last week, I'm just waiting every day, like it's going to be gone. So last week, Wednesday, when you helped me move the tractors and stuff, it was still there. Oh, great. Thursday, Friday.
Nicely, actually.
Oh, it worked really good. Thursday, Friday, I was working on the house. I didn't even touch it. And I'm like, all right, well, it's going to be here the weekend. I moved, I think, between Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I moved, I think, 40 loads, which was a lot. But Monday, of course, it was like, it's a little rainy. Okay, it's okay. Then I got stuck, so I had to go up, pull the truck out. And then I got a rock jammed in between the tires, so I'm trying to pull it out with a bar and stuff. I couldn't get it out for the life of me. I'm like, how am I gonna get this out? So I was actually able to take the excavator and carefully pluck it out, and but then you haven't seen it. I got the lower section where it was like been grass and stuff on the other side, so in between the house and the the bank, and then where the cows are, that's got a good majority has a couple feet of fill across that now.
Oh, nice.
Because that has come up a little bit for the septic. And then finally Tuesday I got a phone call from the guy. He's like, hey, I'm trying to find your place to pick up the excavator. And I was like, all right. And I know I needed fuel. And so they're going to give me a bill for that. He calls me. He texts me the next day. He's like, hey, I got a bill for you for fuel. I'm like, okay. So $198. I'm like, they must charge $10 a gallon. Because
like a rental car company?
Yeah, because I could see 19.8 gallons. I could see it because it was probably about half full. It would have taken, I could see that, but I'm like doing the math. I'm like, well, diesel's $5 a gallon. Well, a little over. No, it's just under 5 actually. So I was like, that's $10. I was like, whatever. I got it for an extra week.
Yeah, you can't.
And so I told Andrew, I was like, we got it for a whole extra week. I'm not going to complain. It is what it is. And it worked out awesome. And now, unfortunately, when I have to move dirt out of just the Mini, which will take forever to fill the truck, but it is what it is. It's just making progress. But yeah, you have to come check it out. It's come a long ways. Hopefully, I get more done today. Trying to get the rest of the floors replaced and just kind of work that way too. And yeah, good times. But yeah, those trusses kind of threw me off, and I'm like, first of all, they're not like 2x4 trusses or anything. They're like 2x2. I don't know. Anyone that's in construction look at that and be like, that's crap, and not like, you know what I'm saying? Because they build them on computer says this, and the little plates and all this. And I'll have my dad look at it probably at some point, but it's only a couple trusses. And
yeah, you don't want that snow collapsing in on you.
And I put the wall right under one of the points where it goes down to. And I might actually be able to put another brace back up where it is and just change the angle of it or something. But yeah, it won't be too bad. Now, if it was like this was the first story and it was the second story, I wouldn't touch it because now it's definitely heavy weight bearing. And I actually stopped at the Valleys yesterday. I needed Tyvek, which is the wrap you put on the outside for the siding. Holy crap. 9 foot long roll, 100 feet long. It's like $175, $77. It's like, holy shit, like, whoa. And, but I was there. I was like, hey, so I need I need a paralam for my garage.
A what now?
It's a paralam. So basically it's a beam, but it's laminated plywood basically, but they're structural. So I just went in. Paralam is what they call them, yeah. So which the place has the one now, the one in the kitchen there, the two that's what that is. So I went in and I'm like, hey, this is what I got. I got a 32-foot span, a post at 10 and 10, and then a 12. So the biggest span will be 12 feet of nothing. And then what I was doing, and he's like, all right, I think I know what you need, but I'll just send it out to make sure. And so I'm waiting to hear back what that will be, because they'll tell you, okay, Tim, you need this 32-foot, paralam. However, it needs to be this thick and this wide and whatever. So that way you put in the right thing for spec for what it is.
Where's that going to go?
That'll be for the garage. Now run down the center of the garage to hold up the floor upstairs and stuff. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could floor truss it and stuff, but now it's a lot more money or steel beam. But I'm like, steel beam will be a pain in the butt to find. And
I think that's what I have down there, isn't it? Steel beam?
You might. Yeah, I think you do. It's very convenient because the steel beam runs the whole thing, no big deal. But paralams only can go a certain distance too. Before, you have to have posts, and so with steel beams, you could technically span this whole entire thing with nothing. It just depends on obviously the size of the beam. Just like bridges are steel beams, like so bigger the bridge, the bigger the steel beam. But so the paralam is kind of the same thing, but they may say, hey, you need 2 of them that are 2 inches wide, thick, and 12. I don't know, whatever it's going to be, but so hopefully they'll let me know what that is, and because I still have to get the garage up, so I got the temporary power. It's not hooked up from Eversource yet, but so Jeremy Dodge came out. I put a post in over the weekend, a 6x6 pressure treated post, 16 feet long. That was like $80. That was heavy. I had to put that on the dump truck by myself. I was like, whoa. Corey's 1-ton dump, but still, I got it up there, and then we buried it, and I got it all braced and everything, because the guy from Eversource says, I'm going to come up to it and shake it, and if it moves, and it's not going to be sufficient. I'm like, no, it shouldn't move. It's 4 feet deep, and I braced it, and so Jeremy and his guy come up, I think it was Wednesday, put the temporary, it's got the meter socket and all that stuff on there, so hopefully, maybe by the next show. If not, it should be by the show after that. We'll have temp power up there, so it's 2 outlets. I don't have to run a generator anymore, which would be really nice. I switched the generator from the barn, though, the small one, because I couldn't stand listening to the one Andrew had anymore. That you had out at the pond.
It's loud.
Oh man, that thing is loud. I'm not complaining. I at least had a generator, but still, I was like, oh, this thing is just miserably loud.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could hear it from here.
Oh, I'm sure.
Depending on,
it's
environmental
old too.
conditions, but it's a good reminder, oh man, I need to go back out there and turn that off.
Yeah, it's an older generator. Some of them are quiet down quite a bit, but you could do pretty much a whole house with it. I'm like, I just need a couple cords, and so that smaller one that I've had from Corey all year, and I was like, I told Corey the other day, there was this one we'd picked up at Harbor Freight. I think it was like $400 or something. I was like, hey, me and Andrew had talked, we're just going to buy you a brand new one, because it was brand new when we got it from you, and it's been out in the weather and stuff. We've been using it. I was like, we'll just buy it from you, because it's not fair to you to.
Yeah, such a good brother.
I know.
So 27 minutes of mostly Tim updating you on his house. I do have a few brassicas, is that what they're called, left out there? The leafy greens, broccoli, cabbage. That's about it. I have some winter squash.
Corn.
I had 2 pieces of corn this year. The bear or deer came and ate the rest of what they didn't get the first time. So that's why the electric fence is going up around the top.
Yeah, definitely fence.
Because the second time an animal got in there, the pattern of eating was different. Like they ate it right off the stalk. They didn't go and pull it up from the ground and take it to the wood line like the bear definitely did.
That might have been a raccoon.
Could have been.
Raccoons are very common for getting.
I have never seen a raccoon, though.
No?
But the other night, I did hear an alien/predator. I don't know what it was. If it was a hybrid bobcat coyote with some screech owl mixed in, but I'm telling you, it was the
Chupacabra.
creepiest. It was the creepiest sound I have ever heard. And JJ was not putting up with it. So JJ went right to where his marker line ends, where because if you go out, like especially with it being fall, you can tell everywhere where JJ has marked his primary piece of property that he protects, and he was right to that line and was like, he was barking crazy, and it was Nikki heard it inside the house. That's how loud, and I mean it was right over here in the wood line.
Might have been a coyote.
But yeah,
They've been making some weird.
But like this was like it was a combination between. I mean, there was like some chittering, some screeching, and it was like a 6 or 7 second. I mean, it was long, and I mean, it was so weird. You know, I've heard the coyotes, I've heard the bobcat, I've heard the screech owl, but this was like a combination of all. It was almost like somebody took and made Chewbacca's growl out of a bear, a dog. You know how they combine all those? It was weird.
So what's a bobcat sound? Meow.
No, you never heard a bobcat?
I don't think I have.
I wonder if I can play it so that the audience can hear it.
You hear the coyotes at my house big time, though.
Yeah, they're very. You can tell Bob or coyote.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a huge difference. Yeah, I don't know. We have bobcats around here, but you just don't see.
No,
them.
I have pictures of the
Oh yeah,
bobcat.
I know you do. Yeah, I like seeing the bobcats though. They don't have, you know.
No.
I was like, that's a pissed off cat. That's what it is.
That's a growling one. I want to hear one that's calling out. They're going for.
Yeah,
That's going for like the angry bobcat. I want the bobcat that's trying to talk to another bobcat a county away. Same one.
That sounds like a whale noise.
But it was like I've played. That's crazy. Number one, here's a hungry bobcat. Let's see what a hungry bobcat sounds like.
Feed me.
What's his name?
It does sound like a freaking house cat. Meow.
That's crazy.
That's funny.
But no, so what's that show that was on Netflix with Marty? Did you ever watch Ozarks?
Oh yeah.
So on Ozarks, Ruth's cousins or whatever find 4 or 5 baby bobcats.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was in like season 1 or 2. Anyway, so that was a couple of years ago when we first moved here, or 4 years ago. I say all this to say that like I had heard a crazy noise and I didn't know what it was, and it wasn't that. That's obviously like angry. That sounds like a lion,
Right.
smaller lion, you know, like a lion cub. But anyway, when I was watching the show, like they had these captured little baby bobcats. Anyway, they made a noise, and I'm like, oh my God, I think that's it. So I looked it up, and it wasn't that sound, but it was the sound that was like that from the show Ozarks. So I was like, oh, that was a bobcat. So when I'm saying that there was a part bobcat, like if you've seen the show The Ozarks, season 2 or 1 or 2, where the cousins have the cage of baby kitten bobcats, whatever they're called. Anyway, that's so the high pitched part of that squeal was part of the noise I heard the other night, but it wasn't fully a bobcat. I'm telling you, it was like a chupacabra. You might be right. I've heard it twice though, but the first night it was it was startling because I wasn't expecting a noise like that. Because you know what I'm saying? You combine a bobcat, a coyote, and a screech owl into one high, up-pitched, sharp.
Maybe your neighbor has them all in cages over there, and they're like,
Nah, they do dairy over there.
yeah,
Organic dairy, too, I think.
yeah,
No bobcats.
no chemicals.
Just the one. And the one, he saunters around here like he's in charge of this whole entire operation.
Typical cat.
I have a feeling, though, if he met my dog, Tony, that I brought back from my parents' house,
From Resident Evil.
he does look like a zombie dog. He's 15, maybe 16, because he was a shelter retrieval. He does have his spine. I mean, I've been feeding him 3 meals a day. I don't know if he has a tapeworm or what, but this boy is not putting on any weight. I sent a picture. My mom and dad said, "Oh, it actually looks like he's getting a little bigger," but he wasn't eating much at their house. But I'm making him like rice and buying frou canned dog food. I'm really trying to get my boy back to like if he was 7 years old again. The last time I left him with my parents. So I left him there 7 years ago with the idea that I'm going to pick him up in 2 years. So they kept him an extra 5 years for me. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Appreciate it.
Definitely.
But he is totally fitting in with the other 2 dogs. But
That's good, though.
the labs kind of like pal around, and the older dog is definitely the older dog. So he'll play, and then whenever he's annoyed with them, he lets them know, like, all right, I'm done.
I'm done. Leave me be.
But then really we all know JJ's in charge because Tony was in charge when JJ was a puppy, and now Tony came around acting like he was in charge, and JJ was like, nah. I'm twice the size of you now, so back up, old man. You go get the chupacabra first. You let me and the puppy know what we're up against. But it's really funny, though, because the puppy, like, it's just nice to watch these dynamics. So when JJ was attacking said possible chupacabra out in the woods, the puppy went and sat just like a Hallmark picturesque moment of a puppy lab sitting up straight, and he was just observing what JJ did. Like, he didn't go and have his, 6 or anything. He just sat there and watched. It was kind of cool. I wish I would have had, like, a night vision camera to take a picture of JJ going to his line of defense and then the puppy going just short and just watching how he did. And Tony just walked back inside and was like,
Nah, I ain't messing with
after
this.
he, like,
I'm
his
from
hair
Texas. I know what a chupacabra is.
his hair stood up, and he walked over there next to the puppy, and he was like, I'm not getting involved with this.
Leave
And he
it
walked
up
back
to you
over
guys.
he was like, I already did my business. Let me back inside.
I'll be getting all the food soon. Chupacabra gets you.
Exactly. He was like, break out those treats.
What do you got in here?
Anyway, that's the excitement at the Morris household. I finally fixed the door. Got a few things left in the garden, a little bit of work left to do there, and I need to probably come over there and help you so I can learn some construction trade craft on the inside, figure out exactly what you're talking about with these trusses.
How to cut a truss and
How to make your ceiling collapse upon itself.
nah, it'd be okay. So Tuesday, Emilio went to
Yeah, I was going to ask. I wanted to ask Mr. Oberhofer last night, but he didn't mention it. So
So he I know I thought he would mention it, but so Emilio was the only one from Newport that went to the state championship, which was at Mount
For golf?
Washington. For golf. I was at Mount Washington course.
first year golfer, just started in the spring basically, like
6 months.
Yeah.
I asked him how he did. He's like, oh, not great, but he's like, I think it was like 4th from last. I'm like, dude, you weren't last, and you've
just
really
been playing
golfed
for 6 months. That's
That's
why I was trying to tell him he has a good natural swing if he had a good coach.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could probably coach him better than I could Zeta, because obviously Zeta doesn't play golf.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah. So,
You know what I mean? Like, it'd be different than...
So Andrea brought him up, and of course she wasn't happy because they had to be there at 8. So
In White Mountain?
and Mount Washington, yeah. So they left at like 6. They
Yeah,
got
the White
there.
Mountains, Mount Washington.
Come to find out, an email went out the day before, but apparently didn't get relayed to them that they didn't have to be there until 9. And then when they get there, there was frost and fog, and they won't let them on the green until then. so it got pushed to 10. But then they didn't actually get on until 11.
So they didn't finish until like 6.
Yeah, I was late. So she stayed for a bit and then came back because she had a lot going on Tuesday. But I just told him, I was like, no matter how you did, like, what a great. You've been on some really cool golf courses this year that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, you would normally wouldn't
You
get
wouldn't
to
normally-
play those.
and you
'Cause
normally
it's
wouldn't-
expensive.
Yeah, I'm sure the Mount Washington one is. And Andrea sent me. I'll have to try to find on my phone. I'll just put them up at the end of the show. But gorgeous up there. Like, I wish I had time and I could have went because beautiful.
Oh, the
like
leaves,
the foliage,
because of everything.
like
This
some
is the
snow on the high mountains, and like just beautiful. So I mean,
That's what the pictures we should be putting up behind us.
well, I do have one picture that if you've
Well,
been-
that's in town, but yeah,
Well, this
that's
is in
beautiful. That's quintessential Newport right there.
yeah. So this is one picture, but and actually,
When are they going to take that bridge down? I mean, that's got to can't be cost effective to have the bridge number 17 here in town.
yeah. So this is one, but
Sarcasm, by the way.
also was it
Facetious.
Sunday? I think Sunday. Alicia went hiking with Riley, and I think John might have went. Anyways, she went up Lake Solitude. I think it's on top of Sunapee. I think that's what it was. She took a picture, and it was really pretty. So we'll mix that into the background too.
Oh, well, let me send you a picture that Zeta took of
yeah.
Montana. We'll get a little
Well, all kinds of pictures. You won't know where you are
college
now.
hiking excursions.
Yes. So, yeah, it's in this time of year. It's beautiful. There's just so many great pictures to throw up so I'll throw a couple up today. Yeah, I've seen a few that were like, wow, it's really pretty. And
I downloaded them. Keep talking. I'm just
I'll keep
looking for
talking.
these pictures to send you.
yeah,
You
all right,
want one with Zeta or just of the mountains?
whatever. You just send them after the show and we'll put them up. So we'll mix up today's pictures on the background.
Oh, look at that. Saw that bad boy out there last night.
That's cool.
Those are like,
I love those. So it's a black with a yellow
protected,
dot.
right?
Yep, the
I'll
lizards.
send that to you too, so you can throw that up.
Yeah, those are so cool.
He stood there I protected him to make sure, the puppy will eat just about anything.
Right. Put it in his mouth
I
and
sat there and protected him while the puppy was sniffing around like that. I think the puppy, because I took a picture of it, obviously, so the puppy was trying to find it. And I was like, you're not messing with this guy. Right? Aren't they protected? Or,
I believe they are, yeah.
Or they're, on the list, allegedly,
Something,
or
yeah.
something. Because I
You don't see
found
them very
one
often.
before, and I jumped back because I didn't know what it was. Because usually you see bright yellow like that, and you're like, poison.
right.
And so I jumped back, and then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
They're so
I had
cool.
2 of them in the back of the house, like underneath some leaves.
No, they're
Where it was nice and
so
damp.
cool.
They
You
like
see
it
the
wet.
you see the little ones with the black and the orange all the time, like the little
Yeah.
but those are like rare. You don't see them very often. Yeah, that's
Especially
pretty
like around the house, because that's the 3rd one now that I've seen. A couple of years ago, I saw the 2 in the backyard because they like to be around water. So
Yeah.
I would expect to see them out by the pond, but not underneath the leaves. You know what I mean?
kinda- yeah, they're
I
weird.
wonder how they
Something
got up here because it says that they usually stay near water because they like the moisture. They're going to have that
Right.
moisture. Anyway,
cool. Yeah, I don't know.
so yeah, so was that kind of salamander? Is that a yellow spotted or something?
Yeah, something. So yeah, we had school board meeting last night, and so CT is short on money, so the guys are trying to figure out how to make that happen. And going back to the taxpayers is not an option. I'll make sure I say that again. And it was said many times last night. So yeah, you read that, buddy. Read that right there.
Pseudohynobius flavomaculitis. Maculatus?
I read it. Spotted salamander. What the hell comes up with these freaking names?
Wait, this one says it's endemic to China.
Oh, that's nice. You got Chinese spy salamanders in the backyard?
What? How about New Hampshire? So that's not the right one. So any science guy or gal that's watching knows that I pulled up the wrong one.
Oh, that's a little easier, right? Of course, there's another picture.
Avistoma maculatum.
Once again,
Spotted salamander.
Spotted salamander.
Well, why did the other one say it's indigenous to China?
It's Google. It's
Yeah,
serving as
I'm-
China.
I should have opened up my Tor browser or whatever. Went to the German, you have one of those? Widespread and secure. Oh, well, I guess I could have let the puppy eat him. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that.
That's nice.
I mean, you're talking. This is the guy that like takes a cricket out of the house and lays it gently in the yard.
Oh, there's millions of them. You don't have to worry about those. Like
Yeah,
feed them
but-
to lizards and stuff, you know?
I know, but there's no point in killing it. It didn't do anything to me. It just found a way into my house.
Yeah.
Then I got to clean it up. I could just take a piece of paper or grab it in my hand.
I had a skunk the other day.
There was a dead one at the end of my driveway. Did
No,
you see that?
that's
the
not
other
the one I hit. Mine's down by, between the Blacks and Dr. Shishel's house. It was super dark. It's coming back from the land one day, and it was like the last second I saw like a white little streak kind of thing, and I didn't even feel it. So I didn't I didn't hit it. I don't think. Got home, I could smell my truck. Was like, oh man, it smells. And then I went through the other day or the next day, and I was like, oh, I guess I got him. But
Was he dead there?
yeah, yeah, no, I certainly didn't mean to hit him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that happens. You know, the crazy thing is my buddy John Paul has a theory that anytime he looks over at his radio or whatever to punch in something, when he looks back up, there's always a car broken down on the right-hand side, you know, like more often than not. So now that I've said it to you, you'll notice it. Like when you look down to, not that you text and drive, nobody should be, but like, you know, playing with your radio, whatever. Anyway, so that's the frame of reference, right? So, you know, you're driving for 10 minutes, you don't see any, you know, that's sleepy
One
road or
distraction
whatever.
and-
You know, you look down and you look up and you're like, holy cow, all of a sudden. So anyway, I like to think about it where on our road, because it's not a heavily trafficked road per se. But you know, like the chipmunks sit there and they run across.
They
and
wait.
You see dead squirrel and chipmunks, but it's like this guy is like my buddy John Paul. He's like looking left, right, no cars are coming. He decides to walk across, and all of a sudden here's a car and he's dead. You know what I mean? Like just the random amount of times, because this is not a heavily traveled road.
It's funny because
Anyway, just like life has a
this
way
like one
of
time
punishing you.
I wasn't distracted. Although I was distracted the other day. When was it? The other day. Miranda Stark, who won our gas card back in the day and listened to our show, she was kind of coming at me, and I was like, oh, shit. I grabbed my phone for something, and I'm like, ooh. I mean, it wasn't like a close call, but it was like, Tim, stay off your phone.
Listen to Steve and
Listen
Chief
to
Wilmot.
Steve in my ear. Do not do it. Anyway, so yeah, so school board meeting last night. CT, got to figure some stuff out there. I don't know. I talked to you too before, like.
Yeah, so so it did a presentation. It should be out, available online, so you can look through the PowerPoint slide to see, because at the end of the day, everything cost more than what it did a year or two ago, significantly more. And so now we're having to do, you know, we have a budget that most of it comes from the Department of Education. So we did approve a bond last year in the town for, was it $4 million or 4
No.
point something million?
No, 1.96.
Is that what it was?
Mhm.
1.96? I thought it was 4, but okay, 1.96. So that money, right, that's set in stone. We're not asking for the CTE, for the taxpayers, for any more money. There are going to be some requests for donations for equipment probably at the end, if, you know, because that's on the cheaper end of things, or less expensive. I don't want to use the word cheap.
Yeah.
We're not trying to go cheap. What we're trying to do is build something that'll last 30 years. It's expandable, that provides our students and the surrounding towns, because other schools use our CTE, so it's not just going to benefit us. So we can attract in outside students into programs, which, you know, they pay tuition, so it's not like we're building it and they're getting to use it for free. So anyway,
Right.
just trying to figure out the happy medium of what can we get for the most bang for our buck. And so, you know, if you watched the meeting last night, you'll see Mr. Spalding challenged, like, you know, some block letters that are going to be up on there, because that'll save thousands of dollars, which those are the kinds of things, exactly what he said is what happens at the Renovation Advisory Committee. So we have local citizens that sit on that, and they say the exact same thing that Mr. Spalding says, so that the town, and I want to say you can access the RAC meeting, or there's minutes for them, so you can see what everybody discusses on the RAC, which I'm not a member of. I attend it because that feeds the building committee that I sit on, which is the building committee is kind of the ones that briefed it last night. So they had the architects on hand, and they didn't really talk much, but they were there if we had specific questions. So there's some challenges with inflation that's going on. It's wreaking havoc not only at home in your pocketbooks with your gas and electric and heating oil, but it's also affecting lumber and construction costs. And so having to adjust that and still meet the goals of expandable, best possible education that we can provide the students and the better environment for the teachers, right? So it's a safer classroom. It's a up-to-date and modern classroom. And so we're going to go back and ask the state for more money to help so that we can meet all the goals that were originally set for this project, right? So that so we have some things that we have as alternates right now that we could do without and still get better education, better environment, up-to-date technology. And then we're going to ask for another $1 million or so, a little bit more than that, from the Department of Education, which if you know anybody and you're interested, contact your local representative, state representative for the New Hampshire or Ruth Ward and let them know. And I want to say they said last night one of the representatives from Claremont's actually on the budget committee. And Claremont students use our CTE. They're part of our, they pay tuition, and we pay tuition if we go over there. So it benefits Claremont. So if you know and you want to make a phone call or write a letter or email, just tell them, hey, Newport's got a CTE that we're looking to get a little bit of extra funding from the Department of Education into their budget. Or the capital, it's not the DOE's budget, it's the capital projects budget.
Yeah.
So we need a little bit more money. We're asking for a little bit more money so that we can come back and almost have everything that we originally briefed, if that makes sense, without sacrificing, some materials have changed, so we're not getting top-of-the-line materials. We're getting 30-year life materials, whereas some other materials might last a little bit longer, shelf life or work life. But anyway, so that's where we're at. We're working hard. You're my alternate on there, and your pointed questions last night. Maybe we should flip-flop since you're tracking, just because you have the demolition experience and your construction experience. You know what I mean? So I'm asking questions. So my background is as an officer. So I have a lot of useless information that I can ask pointed questions, right? So I may not know the specifics that you do, but I know what right looks like and sounds like for the most part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So but you were like, well, I just bought roofing, so the price is going to flip flop, which in these conversations we have, which we didn't have in front of the whole entire school board, but we have these discussions too, which is, how is this going to be cost effective, and is this really true? Because somebody else on the committee is like, wait a second, Rodney's on there, so Rodney.
That's a problem.
We'll ask questions along the lines of what you were last night,
right? Because I look at it as,
Rodney's he works for the school.
I'm not a big fan of architects and engineers, and anyone that works. If you're a mechanic, you're not a fan of engineers because they design everything and they don't think, okay, instead of putting the oil filter there, which is a pain in the ass to get to, why wouldn't you put it here? They don't think these things. They go for looks. They go for this is what they do, right?
Well, they go for aerodynamic, lighter weight.
It's all these things like that. So I look at it as these are salesmen trying to sell me something. They want it to look good because their name's on it. But at the end of the day, where's all the fluff in it? Because there's always fluff. There's always pork in it. There's always, oh, this is fancy. We don't need fancy. The fancy windows, okay? How much are those windows going to be? Well, it's $10,000 window. Okay, well, could we do it with, what I'm saying?
Well, that's why one of the things, I don't know if you noticed that, but so we had.
Oh, you changed it. Yeah.
So somebody came out and looked and was like, wait a second. We can fix most, if not all the windows, the hardware can be fixed because they're still viable windows, but like the
I'm at the
latches
ag
are
building,
broke.
but yeah, I know
Yeah,
what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
It's just, and I
But
felt
they were able to track down the parts manufacturer and find, you know what I mean? Like they're doing some legwork to save us money. Like
Right.
I know what you're saying, and I think that's the skepticism that's needed. And you're not the, I'm a skeptic with
Right.
most things. So
it's just tough too because Mr. Perry and Ed were presenting it, and I'm like, Mr. Perry, Ed's a numbers guy, which is cool, no problem. We need that, but Mr. Perry's a metal. There's nothing. He knows nothing about this stuff, right? And that's not an insult to him because that's not what he does.
no, well
know?
he openly admitted that. But
Oh, absolutely. So I feel bad asking him tough questions because it's not
So-
it's not his fault, or you know what I'm saying,
well, there's nobody's fault, right?
Right.
Like it's
But there's-
there's the economy.
Wow.
Whatever you could maybe
we could
dissect that.
point the blame
quickly,
where the
yeah.
fault is, but
So if you're not awake yet, like the economy is in the dumps, the inflation is up, and so yeah, like. But I've been working with them. They're not trying to rip us off. But I think that from your point, I think it's better that Mr. Perry and Ed brief that to us and to the town versus the architect firm, because they're the ones on the committee, they're in the school system, and Mr. Perry is a director, of that building, and so that's his space, and so he should be the one briefing it to us. It shouldn't be the architects. The architects brief us, but Mr. Perry's got to be able, as the director, to explain to us and to the town, and then we got to go out to the town, just like we're doing kind of like right now, not as members of the board, but as people who were there last night, and I obviously have a good understanding of it, but we definitely need a little bit more money to get us back to our original, it's not going to get everything, because the first drawing is always like a Taj Mahal, right? And then that's when you start making,
of course, right.
You start making cuts. Like, do I really need that? Do we really need this?
I just feel like some of it could be sourced to the community, like, oh, we're going to do paint. Okay, let's talk to painting companies locally and be like, hey, can you do this at a better rate than you normally do because it's for the school and whatever? And
well, part of that
like
is trusting that Harvey's doing that. So
it'll be all a bunch of out-of-staters to do the job.
But you have to hire somebody to do that unless you're gonna, you know what I mean? Because it's like,
and you're not even at that point yet, though.
Right, we're not
So
even.
it's
at
not
that
even
point.
like, oh, who's your painter? It's this guy. Who's your plumber? You got none of that.
Right.
You just have a general contractor.
Right. Who's going out and looking at large numbers of data and doing estimates based on that, not knowing that, oh, you know what, we're in Newport. There's this good paint company over in Claremont. Let's call them up. They're looking at, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Mass probably, and averaging them up together so it actually might be less, and that's why we have them as alternates, not as things cut. So like the new
Right.
entrance was cut.
Right.
Because we don't need
Which
that
makes sense.
anymore because the building is moving over to the other side. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And they explained that last night.
Right.
So that's out there to watch if you want to watch it. It was about a 45-minute long briefing, somewhere around there.
Like that. It's just a tough thing. We got to keep watching it because.
Yeah,
things
well,
keep
you got to be good
changing.
stewards of the government's money. And
No, let's say the taxpayers' money. I don't give a crap.
oh
about
yeah,
the
well that's
government's money.
I'm used to being in the military, so the taxpayers exactly.
Yeah.
It's a lot closer to home. You know what I mean? Like when you're in you get same point.
I get
Be
you.
good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah.
Especially when we weren't on the board at that point, but when they came to the town and said this is what, and they sold the bill of goods. So I think
They worked hard for that too. Really hard to make this all pass, and it passed overwhelmingly. And then
this is the kind of thing that's
going
going to set us up for the future, right? So like it's going to be 3 or 4 years probably before we see the end of the road of the fruits of everybody's labor for this, but you got to be thinking further out, which is what we're doing.
Right.
So it's expandable. College costs are creeping up, and you've mentioned it several times on the show in public that when you were in school, it was like college or bust, basically. Like
Mm-hmm.
the school was designed to push you to college, and now we have an opportunity to where you can graduate and go out and, find yourself a good apprenticeship or a decent paying job here in the local community because you have some skills that you've learned in the trades. And I think we're on our path for that. And we just need to make sure that our government gives us a little bit more money to make up for the fact that our dollar is worth less, since their actions are directly related to our dollar being worth less. Maybe not so much in New Hampshire, but,
The other thing, too, I think
government writ all.
important that Ms. Frigno said last night was, like, remember in November when we vote, which is coming up really soon, especially the local people, right? The local reps, the local, Senate and stuff.
I don't care, Republican or Democrat. If you get a chance to ask them questions.
Where they sit on things, because
ask them
the state's doing stuff.
Very pointed questions.
Yes, because the state is doing things that is hurting public education.
See, I don't necessarily,
Well, they don't fund it first.
Well, they don't fund it. So I agree with some of her points. As a citizen, I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody other than myself, but I think there's a place, and she even acknowledged that she's had friends and family that have been homeschooling for years before the whole COVID thing, and her point, I think, was, are we spending our money wisely? If we're going to just let people have $4,800 to homeschool, is there a check in place? Like, I don't think she wasn't dogging on homeschooling, but
No.
She was, we're giving them $4,000, but
if you just look at
that's all that the school gets per student too. From
exactly.
the point should have been made. Well, not should. From my perspective, I would word it like, hey, we get $4,000 per student to come here. Like, that's what basically we're funded at, somewhere around like $4,000 to $5,000, right? Is what the state pays. Right now, it's $19,000 per student to go to Newport, and they're only giving us $4,000. So we're having to make up for the other $15,000. Taxpayers are
the other way around. They give us, I think it's $4,600. It's still $19,000 on top of that. That's our tax rate. So it's actually like $24,000 for a Newport kid.
No,
they don't count in that. If you look at your tax rate is $19,000 something for just for the school portion. There's no the state part doesn't come in until after. Because your tax rate is your tax rate.
All right, I'm not going to argue with you because I don't have it in front of me, but that doesn't make sense. Then why don't we say it costs in Newport? It should say it costs $23,000 to teach your kid.
Because they're looking at what it costs the actual taxpayer in Newport. They're not accounting for the fact that some of their other tax money is going backdoor in through education through the state. So the tax rate in Newport was 33 and change. Now it's changed, obviously, because of the valuation, right?
Did you get your new valuation?
Yeah.
Oh, you never got one, did you?
I finally got it, like, a month after you could object, but mine didn't really change.
I never got my new one.
Oh, you didn't get a new one? I would make sure you get that.
Yeah, I need to look that up. But anyway, so I need to do more research. You're probably right. I see I'm going to sound pompous. All right, I need to look that up.
Well, no, because if you look at your tax rate.
No, I see what you're saying, but to me, so that's, it needs to.
It actually costs more than we.
Well, then we need to say it costs $23,000 to teach a kid.
Right. That's what
at least the way that we have it set up in our town.
Right.
Right, because it's not all.
Correct.
It's town or SAU specific. It needs to say it cost us old numbers $19,000. But the true cost is $23,000 because
right or whatever, right? Because
it's never delineated like that. It's always like it costs $19,000 for a kid.
Yeah, it's not. It's more because the state money comes into it after the $4,600 per kid.
Well, I'm going to look that up. I'll have that answer next week.
Yeah, but you think about it.
But just to clarify, like, so that it's absolute, right? Because we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you're pretty confident over there. I'm pretty confident. Because it doesn't make sense to me logically to say it costs $19,000.
I mean, that's what it costs out of your tax dollars.
No, I know what you're saying, but that's not the total cost.
No, because the state throws in $4,600
That's what
per
you're
kid.
saying.
Right.
It should be worded that way so that it's easy to delineate. But anyway, the point that she had made was that we have that portion that comes in taken back out from the school to homeschool, and we don't really know, according to her comments, if they're
According to her
actually
comments, yes.
doing anything or if the parents are just getting $4,800 and buying a new laptop or something with it.
Yeah.
Which they may need to do online education, but
I get it in one way, and in the other way, then if you want to homeschool, like if it's going to be that way, then there needs to be. And I thought there was. I don't think it was.
Well, I think it's fair to give them money because they're taking the burden off of the town. And I say burden not as in it's a burden to teach, but they're taking the financial cost.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So the financial burden is no longer on the town to figure out how to teach and make sure this.
Now, realistically, if you want to look at it, if 10 kids in Newport pulled out today and were homeschooled, that should save you $19,000 a kid. But that's not reality, because the cost, whether there's 15 kids in the class or 20, it's the same. You still have the teacher. The problem is it's so underfunded.
Well, yeah, the problem comes in when the average class size goes above whatever our maximum standard is.
Right.
22.
So it's not like if we have 5 furnaces in our house and all of a sudden we don't have to use a furnace anymore. It's like, look at that. We're saving all this money. You're not, because you're still eating the whole house. And, it doesn't, unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. But her point was, well, it's $4,600 here and here and here that would come into the school that doesn't anymore.
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm right.
But I can defend that because
some of it sounded almost, until she said, "I know people."
Right.
It sounded like she was bashing homeschooling until the last
and she corrected
minute
it.
and a half.
She's like, "No, I'm not yet." Yeah.
So I was on the defensive because I'm a kind of guy that I get it. You don't trust the school system and you want to go outside,
right.
You do you. That's what's beautiful about America, right? So I was listening to her in a defensive posture from a personal ideology of I don't have any problem with anybody homeschooling, and if the government's giving out $4,000 per student and that student's not in the school system, then that taxpayer should get that $4,000 to put towards their kid's education.
Right.
I agree. But she clarified at the end, and it was more of a what checks and balances do we have in place to make sure that this 4,800, whatever number there was, over 4,500, is being used properly, right? Which I don't. If I decide to homeschool, I'm not telling you what I'm doing because I don't trust you, right? That's the thing is there's a lack of trust in the system already, and now you think that you're going to come inspect me when I don't trust you and I've pulled my kid out of your system, and now you think you're still going to be involved with my kid? No. You see what I'm saying? So that's where it sounded like it was going, but then she switch base, and I think it's just making sure that $4,600 is being spent wisely.
Well,
but then again, this is the live free or die state, and
the point is too that $4,600.
You're an adult, and if you're going to take that money, then you owe it to your child to teach them well, to do the research. Right. And if you're not going to do that, then maybe you don't homeschool your kid.
But I mean, so much of her point too was the fact that $4,600 to educate your child is a joke, and there's no place in the state that comes even close to that. And so there's a couple.
Right, and I think that was her main point, but there was a dig.
Because there's more. So there's one of the lawsuits I heard the other day. So there's 2 lawsuits. One was a lawsuit of you in 90, it wasn't 97, 90, in the 90s. Might have been early 90s with the Claremont decision. The Supreme
94,
94, yeah. The Supreme Court said that the state is legally bound to fund education. So they have been, right? $4,600 a year right now. The point they're saying, and schools are saying, and obviously we know it's true, is $4,600 doesn't fund education, doesn't even come close to it, and now it's coming out of our property taxes, which is killing our whole area because most of your taxes are going for that, and the system's not fair because if you have a place like, Sunapee, who has valuable properties without kids going into the school for most of the people on the lake, they've got it made because they have so much money coming in that they can spend on school.
Financially they have it.
Financially. So, but there's another lawsuit, the second lawsuit, which is scary in a way, because if the Supreme Court decides with this person, I don't know what would happen. So he's saying right now that the $4,600 that they're taking out he's saying that the property tax coming out of your property right now, that $19 per thousand, whatever, is illegal because the Supreme Court said the state was to fund education, which means if you're taking money from me and you to fund education for my property taxes, you're violating that statute, you're violating the law.
I agree with that.
Right. Now, here's the kicker. So if the Supreme Court says, you're right, and as of today, immediately, it will you will not do this, what's going to happen? The state's really going to scramble then and be like, well, you better find out how you're going to fund.
The state will have to reallocate its monies to education, which is what it should do. I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, but the monies. I
like that logic.
The monies for your property tax, the state only gets a very small portion of that. The town keeps.
No. What they're saying is so you go back to like 1913. There were no taxes.
Oh, I know.
There were taxes that were paid, but not an income tax.
Right. It was tariff based, and
the government
yes.
and education and everything ran just fine back then.
Oh yeah, the feds destroyed everything.
Right.
Well, that's a whole different topic.
But it's part of this too, though.
Yeah.
Right or no?
No. Yeah, I agree that they're taxing us to death, and then their state, aka government's not holding up their end of the deal. Which in New Hampshire, and I don't know how the states do it, but in New Hampshire, they're constitutionally bound to fund education, public education. Right. And they do not do that. And that's what they're saying. They're saying, well, this funds it, which we all know it's complete BS. $4,600 is not going to fund per kid. There's just no way.
No. Yeah, maybe if you homeschooled them, maybe you could do it for $4,600 a year.
But then you're going to have a parent not working, and you know what I'm saying? Like,
but you know what I mean? Like, so I'm saying that from the sense of, because you're not, right? So it's just like you were saying, you add more, doesn't necessarily, or take away, doesn't mean you're saving any money, but you're already paying to heat your house, you're already paying to eat, to buy food for those that can afford food, because we do have some challenges out there in the community.
Big challenges.
But you know what I mean? So like you're already... So the location, and then you have either, technology has its place or whatever, but I'm old school. Give me a workbook and a book to read, do some math problems with an actual book. Like, I can't read on the screen.
No, I mean, we had...
I can't use Google anything. I was a Microsoft guy for 25 years, so all this Google stuff, like the school uses, I'm clueless.
Yeah, I mean, we actually just had a challenge with school like 2 days ago. Lydia came home doing homework, and first of all, I was like disappointed because she's in 8th grade, and there's some stuff that she should have known in like 6th grade or before. I don't even know, like where states were. It was the original 13 colonies. I'm like, you should already know where all these are. There could be certain things.
I remember learning that like in the 4th or 5th grade.
Yeah, like
3rd grade.
The Great Lakes. I flip-flopped them. So it's Ontario above New York, Erie above Ohio. I had a flip-flopped, which obviously, like Nikki would have known that for sure because she lived right there and stuff. But so the little things like that, I was like, and of course I haven't been to school for 21 years. But so she kind of needed the internet to, of course we don't have internet at our house because I don't know. I didn't even know what to give you for an answer for that because we had paid for internet, had internet. It just didn't stop. It just stopped working. And then they said, they were going to fix, like, put new lines in, and they never did. And I I don't know. So, which I'm excited when we get to the new house because we should be able to have Comcast, and it should be a lot better. And the service is better at the new place. But so there's
The cell phone service is better.
yeah. So that's a challenge too. Is okay, like with the homeschooling or anything like that. Like even now, like kids gonna do homework.
Well,
need the internet.
And
Well,
back where I grew up in Texas, whenever, because I grew up in, like if I've told the story, it's about the same size as Newport, the town I grew up in. It's kind of doubled, right? So now it's about 12,000. But when I grew up, it was 6,000, roughly our same population. And then where my cousins grew up, smaller than that even. But when they got all the COVID money, because they're in rural places with no internet, like that's what they invested. The town invested whatever COVID grants or whatever they got in the school, like combined together to get high speed internet because, kids aren't learning anything. So I've told the story before when they did the whole last 3 months at home, whatever. Like we had even though they opened up the internet, like, so during a crisis they can give you better internet.
amazing, wasn't it?
All it takes is a flip of a switch, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But like because of the engineering program Zeta needed to use, it took up all the internet or whatever. I don't know,
Right.
whatever it was, the bandwidth
Well, yeah.
for the CAD program. So
I thought that
she had
was-
to do her homework at like 1 a.m.
I thought that was supposed to be fixed under Obama. Remember?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, he had a whole jobs program that was going to bring
Right.
us out of the
Shovel-ready jobs, right?
Yeah.
I remember that.
I walked around Boston and all kinds of signs up, and nothing was being done because I was on a work trip during that time. And I remember Boston was heralded as one of these places. And you walk around, and it's like nothing was really done. It was just a bunch of. They hired people to put boards up like they were doing work, but there was no work being done. Scam.
Yeah. All right, let's
The
move
government
on.
works for us. Don't forget. They don't tell us what to do. We tell them what we want them to do. That's the best thing I could give advice I can give anybody is it's nice to get their feedback. However, you're entitled to your opinion, and you can be like, I appreciate that, but this is what I want. So you're not going to get my vote if you don't fix the budget. I will write in some random person. I'll write in my own name if I have to. You know what I mean? Like, but you're not going to get. Yeah, okay, you might still win, but you're not going to convince me to ever vote for you or your party again. Because I rail against the party system all the time. But anyway,
I know.
I digress.
So one thing I want to mention, we did this last night at the meeting, and I just want to mention it today, is Ella Casey has passed away, which is sad news. I believe she was 92. So she was a lifelong resident in Newport she was the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce. I think it was like 30. It's long time.
Yeah,
And so,
I never knew her in that role.
but you've heard her name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
She just winter carnivals and all these things, like things that are happening in Newport, it had her name on it, right? She had something to do with it, and she was a great lady. I've done work for her in the past. I've just known her forever. So she's passed away, and we mentioned this last night at the meeting, just so that we did actually a little moment of silence, and but one of the big icon in Newport, and if there's certain names you'd say in Newport, and you'd be like, oh yeah, you think Newport, like Ruger, you think Newport, right? I think Bill Ruger. Ella Casey is one of those names for sure that comes up, and like Newport and all she's done. So I just wanted to mention it because I feel like sometimes that as time goes on, people forget what people have done in the past for the community, and I just want to make sure I mention it. She was a sweetheart.
so she
I
just
really liked her.
retired last year.
Yeah, she finally retired like last year, and then Shannon McMichael took over her position, which is a great
That's
replacement.
how I heard the name.
Yes.
but I don't think I'd met her. Let me see.
Yeah.
Maybe I have. But.
She's a fiery lady. She lived with her sister, she just I liked her. She was a hit. And
It just says decades of service. It doesn't say how many.
yeah, it was long time, very long time. So we just wanted to mention that, and she's as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
No,
I was just looking to see how many years that she did it.
Yeah, I know. I didn't think I didn't see it either, and
So
So,
appreciate everything she did for the town.
absolutely. No, definitely. Selectmen's meeting Monday night. You going to go with me?
I might. I don't know.
You should go. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm so excited. I am. I don't know. Because, like, it's just funny because I said something to Bert because Bert's been on Hunter's case and it has nothing to do with Bert. It's the whole Stevens thing we talked about before. And Bert told me last night, he's like, yeah, the bridge isn't posted anymore. Huh. Imagine that. So
That's interesting.
I want answers. I want to know. Why was it posted ever then?
I need to rewatch that meeting. Like, watch it. I was listening
You have
to
to rewatch it the morning of, so when you go there, you're fired up and you're like,
Well, no, I just want to make sure, because it's kind of like whenever the comment was made, bring your statement and the town will buy your house. Like, that still might be in play, because I still haven't seen them reduce my property valuation. So, like, I got to, like, tread water carefully, because if I heard that correctly,
you know that's never going to happen.
no, I know, but I will make a scene of all scenes. I'll be calm and polite about it, but I'll ask every single selectman who's going to be responsible for what he said. Like, do we say things that we mean, or are we just in here flippantly saying things? Because
It's bureaucratic.
I try to choose my words when I'm, because even when we talk at a school board meeting, we're not talking on behalf of the board. We're talking for ourselves, for our own better understanding.
Correct.
Only when we vote
Yes. Is the board
does the
making
board
decision.
speaking as a board. But
Yes.
anyway,
So my thing is, the questions I have, I guess, or things I want to say is, okay, first of all, I want to know why it was posted. Because, I mean, and I have already drawn my conclusion.
didn't somebody 92 Alpha? Does anybody request all the communications reference said bridge?
Yeah.
Did they do it properly so that?
I don't know. Bert did and Josh's wife, but we'll see if it happens. Probably,
Have you gotten your 90? Do you have to do it officially?
You just send an email.
Did you send an email?
Yeah.
Still waiting on that, are you?
I can send him an email back. I'm sure it'll get to me. I know it will.
Yeah, I
not-
mean, it takes time.
Going from there, so.
He didn't tell you it cost $3,000 for him to find all that paperwork? Because, sometimes that's how the government gets out of trying to do FOIA requests. They try to tell you, oh, you're going to have to cover the cost of research, and that's going to be $12,000 for us to do that. That's a scheme to get them. Like, they have IT guys that can literally pull up, like, the school could go onto mine and your email right now without us knowing about it and pull all of our emails and
Yeah.
it takes seconds.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
once he logs in. But, I mean, I'm being a little bit facetious, but it doesn't take very long.
No. So, but my question in the selectmen is, okay, so this happened. And I don't know what's going to be said, right? But
I mean, that's for email. Okay. Like, there's
yeah.
things where, like, information's passed and flowed through Microsoft Word printing and sharing and not sending through email, then, yeah.
I actually should send
Takes
one
a
of
little bit more
selectmen
time.
a message and be like, so is Todd Carty going to be at the meeting on Monday night? Because he should be. Because
He should say why he posted that bridge, right?
Exactly.
Because apparently whatever excuse was given last time was incorrect information because it's not posted anymore.
According
So
to
where was the misinformation coming from?
Right.
Who will be held to account for said misinformation?
Right, because as far as I'm concerned, if someone's not held to
Who's going
account,
to pay for his year's worth of hour-long commutes that could have been 8
Fuel
minutes?
prices.
The fuel alone.
huge, an extra hour on a big truck like that. Yeah. So, but here's the thing,
I'm reserving judgment until I, like you said, you get
but
all
these 5 selectmen better ask for accountability, because if not, they're just as culpable as the rest of them.
right. Somebody needs to be held to account.
So if you're not going to hold Hunter or whoever, and I'm just going to say Hunter, accountable, then you're just as bad as him and you should go. Then you all should resign, because you work for us, the taxpayers. You don't represent him. You are not his lawyer. You are not his agent. You are nothing. He is your employee, like Donna is our employee. Real
towns,
simple.
right? Like it's there. We all serve at the pleasure of the voters.
Correct. Now, you don't go in there and, well, I think this and you need to do this. No, that isn't how it works. However, when there's accountability and things like that, no, that is how that works.
Right.
I mean, CEOs get fired at companies all the time because the board says, you know what, this dude's not doing his job. And I'm not saying that's necessarily what the case is. But something happened there that was really not right and really smells.
Well, there's like a series
wrongdoing.
of there's a series of unfortunate events here.
Yes.
If you want to call it that, that suggests that maybe
Not starring Jim Carrey either.
the Eye of Thundera should turn and look over and see what's going on.
Just the bids alone.
That's to me that's right. So you could almost see, like, if there weren't anything else going on with Stephen, right? Like that bridge, like, okay, there's bureaucratic
Right, if there was
mismanagement,
nothing.
whatever else. But like now you have a series of incidences where, allegedly, the sidewalk thing, right? Like, so they may have had the lowest bid or did have the lowest bid for the other bridge and weren't accepted because of whatever reason, right? Like, is there a reason given? No, because it was like, oh, it's behind lawyers now. We can't talk about it.
Which is actually BS because there was no lawsuit apparently. So should not be the situation. Or they could say, I guess, oh, well, but there could be a lawsuit. Who knows? But not even that. Another bid is the thing.
Yeah, the bid that was opened way after it was supposed to be submitted.
That alone,
like that's
enough. I mean, that alone is enough to be like,
what's going on? Law. Like that should bring down the eye of Thundera on all processes. Like if this were my military unit, and this happened, my boss would be like, "You're accountable."
Right.
I understand that a captain did that and a captain blah blah blah, but. And I would don't get me wrong, I would never be like, well, it was a captain. I would say, no excuse, sir. And then if I didn't get fired, I would go and talk to that captain and be like, what the hell's wrong with you? I said this. You did not follow my instructions. Now, not only am I going to get, my ass chewed, but so are you.
And that's the thing.
It'll reflect on the here on out because you didn't follow orders. Now I don't think that you can follow orders. Right. This is very simple. You're supposed to, there's a way that the bid process works. You violated it, allegedly. Right? I haven't seen the evidence, but allegedly it was violated. So now there needs to be repercussions, whether it's counseling, whether it's a public apology and going back and fixing the bid, right? Like just make things right. That's all you have to do.
What Chief Usara say to us? People just want to hear an apology.
I'm telling you, especially if it's a genuine and it was an honest mistake. Now, if there's not an honest mistake, now we're getting into some
let's start to wonder. But here's the thing: when you're at the top,
I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, though, right? You know what I mean? Like that's my, I've gotten burned because
how many strikes?
So West Point taught you to do not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do. So then you go into it, like people are just good people, right? Like, all right, so this is the system that you're bringing me up, especially in that environment. So they teach you not to assume that you're automatically lying to me, right? Because they teach us to just like, hey, it's the truth. It's going to hurt a little bit. Now, there's some white lies or whatever. I'm not going to, that's just whatever, good manners. Right. So there's a boundary, but at the end of the day, if you tell me something and I don't know you that well, I'm going to be like, all right, well, let's see how we can fix it. And then if I start digging into it and you didn't really tell me the whole truth, well, now you're a liar, right? So now I can't trust you that much. But is it because you didn't see everything right? So you got to get to the root cause. You didn't know, you didn't care, or you weren't trained properly. Right? That's usually the three reasons why things go bad in a situation like this with the government, like bureaucracy. You don't know, you don't care, or you were improperly trained. So if it's not one of those three reasons, and if it's you don't care, then you might need to get fired. But if it's because you didn't know or you weren't trained properly, well then, all right, acknowledge the mistake, acknowledge to whoever, like you said, an apology, like, hey, we apologize. We did not train this person well. They had an emergency this day of the training, and unfortunately, I can backtrace it right here. They missed this 12-hour block on bids and stamping and whatever else.
I feel like
they've been counseled on it, and we're going to fix this now. And it's ugly.
This is so big.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, there's an easy way to do right, which is apologize, admit when you're wrong, and say, you know what, I made a bad decision. This is where I came from when I was making this decision, and now that I'm looking at it in front of all of you, I made a bad decision.
But I got to say this. So, okay, here's the deal. We go into the meeting. I assume there'll be some sort of briefing about this, right?
You assume, but
I assume.
The last meeting they were supposed to talk about it, and then people showed up unprepared, and I was like, well, you said the last meeting we're going to talk about it this meeting.
Right. Now this would be 3 meetings. In
so
6 weeks
is it a baby game where, you didn't get it on the agenda. You should have recommended that we get it on the agenda. Well, you implied that it was going to be on the agenda when you said we're going to talk about it next week. So that's on you.
I mean, that public
right?
forum.
Like that excuse is gone.
Right. I mean, that public forum went so long last time that I was headed to the land to do work. Andrea Catala was so distracted by listening to the meeting that she's like, I was just head back. But I could have stopped because I almost said to her, pull in there because I got something to say. Because I'm watching this whole thing and I'm like, these things are counter, like he's saying this and then he's saying this and he's saying this and none of it makes sense because he's, it's like a lie on top of a lie on top of a lie kind of situation where, well, somebody told me this. All right, well, who told you this then?
Yeah, where's the communication to back this up?
So Monday's meeting, there needs to be open transparency, just like Don wants at the school, which is how government all should be, transparency. This is what happened. This is where it went wrong. This is what the actions are going to be.
Right.
And if there's not, and if the board isn't going to hold Hunter accountable, then I'll ask for resignation of all the board members then that aren't going to hold the town manager accountable. Right. And if the town manager is accountable for all this and whatever,
consequences,
then he needs to resign or be fired. Because it's simple. If the school board isn't going to hold the superintendent accountable for something that happened, then the school board's not doing its job. It's no different from the town. If the town manager is doing something beyond a simple mistake, and this is way more than a simple mistake, then it's the job of the selectman. Allegedly. This is the job of the selectman to hold him accountable. You know? And if they're not going to, then they need to resign because they don't represent the town, and they're obviously not good people to be in charge of our money.
Well, yeah. It's hard when you have a personal relationship and you want, like I was saying earlier, like I want people to do well. I want them to do the right thing. But like,
seriously, if you watched the last meeting, it was like watching the FBI in the Biden administration. So, and we can relate this to Newport. The Biden administration's Hunter, the FBI's the DPW who's marking bridges against this guy over here, Stevens, who there's some bad blood for whatever reason. So he says you do this and then this happens. And what? It's illegal at the FBI. It's not right. And it shouldn't be happening. It is happening, but it shouldn't be. And now it's happening in Newport, New Hampshire.
We got our own mini Gestapo going around. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Unless you could somehow really prove otherwise. But from all the proof that's been brought forward on one side, it's awful hard to disprove. And now the bridge posting, this according to Bert, I haven't seen the bridge myself. Bert said it's down, and he would know because
we should send some of our local reporters out there to go report on said bridge. Put some video of it up.
Come down there and check. I was gonna go check the damn bridge out myself. I'm not a bridge person, but I could look at it and tell you if it looks horrible or not.
Well, no, but I mean, just having some pictures up for relevance of what we're talking
apparently
about.
Chandler's Mills Bridge has got a cone, so you only drive one side because it's not good. And find out that bridge not been posted, and this bridge is great, and this bridge is like needs to be replaced, or it's going to go. I don't know, like.
Yeah, hey, I've as a leader. Right. So I have been a leader of an organization. So not only was I responsible, but I was responsible and accountable, and I had to try my best. And we all, I'm a jackass. I make mistakes or whatever. Right. So like I said, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt because I always make mistakes.
Yeah.
But whenever you tell the 4 or 5 people that are responsible for everything that you do to tell them you're going to have to vote to stop me, to me, that's said enough to me to where who really is controlling Hunter is Hunter. Right? Like that's like just taking that in the context that it was given, how else am I supposed to take that?
Yeah. You can't take it any other way. It's just simple.
You have to vote to stop me. Like they're having a conversation. You have employees coming and having the courage to come and say, no, this is a bad idea. And I'm asking you to not allow him to do this. And then for no one to even make any phone calls and just go with the town manager's word. Like, right? Like, was there a rush to make that decision that night? You couldn't wait 2 weeks? Anyway, that's my take on it.
Now, if you're going to take his word on that, and then you find out all the other things have been going on, well, you're taking the word from the right person.
Well, it'd be like,
I don't know.
it'd be like you saying, right, because this is your show. I'm just here at the pleasure of you. But if you were to ask me or tell me to do something for the show, and I'm like, oh, you're going to have to whatever, then you'd be like, all right, well, then don't ever do the show with me again, right? Like, if I came at you with like, no, you're going to have to stop me or whatever. You're going to have to make me. You'd be like, well, then I don't want to really work with you because that's not really a working relationship.
You're not getting out of this show.
Are you saying there's a double entendre there with a, or I guess entendre has a
So,
sexual meaning, but
WNTK
double
is,
meaning.
So WNTK is, I don't know, there's some guy retired from the 10 to 1 a.m. slot or whatever. That people are on there asking, like, he was looking for recommendations, and I'm like, Tim and Steve show? Seriously? I didn't hear nothing about that.
Well, we could do that. We could take take our game up a level. I guess if we were getting, there was some money involved and we
already talk local stuff. I cannot say the F word. You know?
You say crap a lot.
They're fine with that. You just can't say the F word. You can't say, there's like 9 words. Yeah.
Hey, I did radio for one night at West Point on the local college thing. One of my old roommates worked there, so I got to do the music one night. I was not allowed to go back up there. They did not like my music selection.
No, they don't play music. It's just talk radio.
No, I know. But I talked a lot more than I played music. There's more to the story.
You turned it into talk radio, and it was not supposed to be talk radio.
Nobody wanted to hear the sweet pontifications of
Raoul.
Cadet Morris at the 8 to 10 p.m. slots, whatever it was.
All right, meme of the day. I'll wrap this up. I mean, we go long, but it's because we usually do a show every week, or every day, rather, and now we're doing once a week. So, all right.
I'll try to put chapters on this one today, so if anybody wants to skip through and get to the meaty portions.
Yeah, you don't care about my house and what I've been doing, whatever. Skip ahead. It's all right. I won't take it personal.
Well, the last couple ones, I've been kind of in a rush, like Nikki's home today, so I don't have to worry about getting the dogs, because usually I got to let the puppy out of the cage. And
I'm looking at the time like, man, I got stuff to do at the house, and
I got dogs to go walk. I got a lot of stuff going on here, Tim. I got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah. I don't get my house done soon. My whole family's going to be up in this studio.
Right here, I've got. Keep it down over there. We're filming.
Stop snoring. You're supposed to be at school.
Well, yeah, why aren't you at school?
All right, so here's a meme of the day. We are no longer accepting things we cannot change. It's now time to change the things we cannot accept. Isn't that true?
Yeah, I saw something similar, which was, I'm not playing in your fantasy world. Right? Like, what you're wanting me to do is live in a fantasy, and I live in the real world, and so I'm not even wasting my time with your fantastical beasts. Like your fantasy land that you're living in.
Yeah, you should. Well, there's other things I want to talk about today,
Yeah,
but we won't get into it
long.
because it'll take too long. But I'll just throw it out real quick. What was you should really look around and wherever, social media and stuff. But there's I don't know what it is, if it's a trial or what it is over in
the EU.
In the EU, and Pfizer's there, and
Just look that up.
Yeah, they've now admitted that the COVID vaccine was never about stopping transmission, even though that's what we were told.
It wasn't tested.
Yeah, it was just like whatever. So there's a lot of questions coming out of that, and like we already say, and it sucks because when you're in the minute or in the moment, you're like, you know, when you go to a school board meeting and you're like, hey, and you read a paper from the NIH and you're just giving fake news or, you know, fake science, and then it's Swiss cheese and there's this, and you get pissed and you're like, this is complete BS. And now you look at it now, right today, and you're like, oh wait, the truth always comes out. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Like the whole Russian hoax thing. Did you know that Steele, they offer him $1 million to prove his thing? $1 million. So the FBI pays for information now? Like pays, you know.
Well, from my understanding of that is that the FBI, yeah. So they knew that
They knew
the
it was
Clinton
fake.
Foundation or Hillary Clinton, whatever, her presidential campaign hired them to dig up this dirt, give this dirt, then somehow makes it to the FBI from allegedly John McCain-ish, maybe, allegedly. Right? So then the FBI gets it, and then they're like, oh, hey, we'll give you $1 million if you improve all this, even though they know it's all just smear merchant.
Yeah, and then
stuff.
run with it. You know who's the biggest person to interfere with any election in the last 2 years, or the last two cycles, of 16 and 20? The freaking FBI. Not Trump, the FBI. It's all coming out.
No, you just got to look for it.
Yeah, eventually they'll
You won't find it on CNN, MSNBC.
No, they bury that
Fox.
stuff really good.
You really got to go to like independent journalists. You can't go to the ones that are being paid by corporations.
Yeah, like CNN, the Clinton News Network. No, I got something better. Communist News Network. Yeah, I like that better. Although they're starting to fire people and it's changing a little bit, I guess, but that'll too slow.
Yeah, but that's kind of like Tulsi Gabbard pretending that she's.
I don't know. I've always kind of liked her, but
I've met people.
you met her? Yeah. Oh, she's a military person, wasn't she? Oh, Air Force.
Well, we had a thing. You know, she represented Hawaii, and I was a battalion commander in Hawaii, and so there was a big unveiling of a statue, and she was there. And I don't know her, so let me just clear that. I don't know her. I just know the vibe I got from her was not one of which I was like, that's a person I want to get to know, and I'm glad that they're representing me or, Hawaii in Congress. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I trust my reading judgment of character pretty good. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
One of those ones where I was like, Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those was like, yeah, man, that's one on our team. And it wasn't because she was a Democrat and whatever. You know what I mean? It was based on solely.
Yeah, I got you.
Just my own
I got you.
vibe.
No one here cares anyways, really, as far as Tulsi Gabbard goes, because she doesn't enough represent us in any way, so. But,
I'd be surprised. People I've met.
All right, we can't talk about that today on the show, but. All right, guys.
Raul's been around the world.
Thank you for watching, if you're still watching, or if you ever watched, or if you couldn't get past me talking about the house, or Steve's tomato plants that are still growing somehow, or the door he fixed. Yeah. All right, guys. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Get out. Enjoy the weather. It's supposed to be nice this weekend. Newport football is taking on Franklin tomorrow in Franklin. Quick shout out. Girls field hockey. It was 13-2.
Old coach. Shannon Martin. Principal by day, coach by afternoon and night.
Those girls, huge shout out to them. Kicking ass.
Appreciate Coach Martin.
Yeah.
Stepping up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a lot of work to be a principal of
just
high school.
Just the principal.
Right.
And, yeah.
And then on top of that,
yeah, and
all those duties, but then also traveling and coaching.
Practice every day. Yeah.
That's awesome. So thank you, Miss Martin.
Yeah, thank you very much for stepping up and rocking it. And
Yeah,
congratulations,
man.
girls, because you're making Newport proud.
How about
And,
the soccer team? I haven't gotten out to watch a game.
I haven't heard much. I know they were supposed to have a game yesterday. Originally, it was supposed to be Friday. It got pushed to yesterday because of officials, but then I don't know if they had it because it rained. I don't know, but
I'll have to look at the calendar. I need to get out to a game.
yeah, it's been tough for me to, like I said.
They need some Morris yelling. They'll recognize my voice.
Yeah, they need Zeta. Everybody recognizes Zeta's voice.
I'll just yell out, Zeta! Everybody
I was like, what
Morris
the
is here.
Do we go back in time?
Mr. Morris is out there.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend, and yeah, we'll talk to you next week.